Hey, so let's dive in here. YouTube is over, party. It is basically over, but I'm talking about it now. So I'm talking about YouTube is over, party. Now that it's over, which okay, that's great because I'm not fucking late to making videos. But anyways, I'm not gonna reiterate a whole bunch of things. I'm mostly gonna build on arguments presented by all the guys that put videos out there. Philip DeFranco, Armored Skeptic, Sargon, Computing Forever. There was Till Deer and Mundane Matt. Those are, I think, the ones that I saw, and I'm gonna kind of build on them slash critique them a little bit, and try to be a little bit more unique and not just repeat the same fucking shit over and over and over fucking again. Let's go. So in case you didn't know about this already, YouTube put out yet another bot that flagged a whole bunch of fucking videos. But this bot focused on demonetizing and determining what is advertiser friendly. That's what this bot focuses on, and mostly just demonetizes videos rather than flags them for DMCs and all other shit, right? So they implement this bot and it starts flagging videos as non-advertiser friendly, and then they tell us about it on August 31st or September 1st or whatever the fuck it was, after several months of it already being implemented. What the fuck? That's really shitted up. Like, strike one, YouTube. Strike one. That's fucked. That's beyond fucked. So people were noticing after, now that, hey, come to mention it, my AdSense was down, and I was kind of wondering about that, and it didn't make any sense because in their interface, everything was labeled as, monetized, whatever. There was no issues labeled. However, in the background, it was demonetizing videos, and we only found out about this because Philip DeFranco asked about this. What type of policy change is this? What can we do to not get our videos flagged? And they said, well, we didn't change anything. We just told you about it. What the fuck? Now, quickly, let's go over what they changed, what they are now flagging as non-advertiser friendly in their community guidelines, whatever the fuck it is. I'll link it in the description. Content that is not considered not advertiser friendly includes, but is not limited to, sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity, okay, understandable, and sexual humor. Can't make titty jokes. Can't make titty jokes. Nope. Hey, it's the joke police. Open up. Like, honestly, this is the most fucking retarded. Pixar movies have sexual humor. They've had it since the first Toy Story, for Christ's sake. You watch any Pixar movie and you can see sexual humor. Oh my. Yeah. Disney movies have sexual humor in them. If you're trying to make this a Disney-friendly site, this is fucking retarded. This is okay. Let's continue. Policy 1. Fucking crap. Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. So we can't. This one, I understand what they're trying to get at, but I think that's I don't like it because you can interpret violence in terms of like a political protest, and somebody, you have 1,000 refugees going over the border, and then the riot police clash and whatnot, and that can be considered news. And then you have like shit like that can be on World Star Hip Hop that is just like 4 guys jumping a dude and kicking him in the face and shit. Like, obviously that's not reasonable or even worth putting on fucking YouTube, honestly. Fight videos, just keep them off YouTube. They're not even worth it, really. But political type protesty things, obviously there's going to be violence and war. So if you don't, that's one of those things where it's just like, it's not implicitly a bad policy, but it can be taken wrongly. It's too vague. It's fucked. So policy 2, not great. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. Fuck! Sorry, don't swear. Sorry, guys. I'm going to talk like this and not get angry at YouTube because that is not allowed anymore. I can't have a potty mouth. I don't know if potty is a swear. There was Michigan in 2015. They outlawed words like crazy. So I don't know if that's a swear or vulgar language or bullying. There's a lot of At the end of the day, when we go down this cherry road, anything can be taken offensive, anything can be taken to be vulgar. This is why, even if you look at hate speech laws, I would consider those vague, but they are also very explicit and try to be as legal as possible in their jargon. Now, forget it. This is fucked. Shit, cock, dick, motherfucking bullshit, cunt, monkey, sick, fuck, ass clown. This makes me angry. And yet, there was a fucking... Somebody said that there was a YouTube video of, like, somebody, like, literally, it was a cam inside a hoochie. Inside the hoochie, like, looking out the cavity, and then the cock going in and out, in and out, in and out, inside the hoochie, and then the money shot, probably over the fucking camera, and that was allowed on YouTube because that's educational. That's fucked. Policy 3, absolutely fucking retarded. 80% of videos are fucking swearing. Just fuck Policy 3, that's garbage. Promotion of drugs and regulated substances, including selling, use, and abuse of such items. So alcohol, you can't drink on streams anymore. That would be one where I'm like, okay, go fuck yourself kind of thing, right? But things like weed that are outlawed in certain areas of the world, I can understand that. But legal substances are legal, and you're of the legal age to use them. No, you can do that. That's where I would draw the line. But yet, promotion of drugs. Oh, great. So are marijuana videos promoting, saying, let's vote Prop 69 for medical cocaine? Or is that allowed? Is that allowed, or is that too political? I don't know. But fuck it. Because I would consider that promotion of drugs, but and it could be considered promotion of drugs in some contexts. But yeah, see, vague guidelines that are crap. Last one, controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, politics, conflict, national tragedy, even if graphic imagery is not... Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. We're not allowed to know what's going on in the world, folks. Alternative media, go to fucking hell. Go to hell. You can't report it in the news. Alt media, nope, go away. Go away. Only MS has that monopoly. This is so fucked. This is fucked. This is trying to destroy everything the internet has fucking created. If it weren't for alternative media, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump would have, like, no chance if it weren't for alternative media. Like, let's be honest. How many fucking people would know about WikiLeaks and all the fucked shit that she's done, said, and like, the speculations around her health? That would have been completely covered up. There would be no accusations of that whatsoever because nobody would raise them, really. They just... Paul Joseph Watson or whoever the fuck thought of that would see it and be like, huh... I wish I had a platform I could post that on to tell all the people I know and hopefully get 1 million views so that the public is aware of who they're voting for president. Seriously, you're literally saying no, don't post opinions. Now, okay, let's get into, bring it back to reality. Like, all these policies are fucked, if you ask me. But let's bring it back to the reality. Tildeer, one of the things he mentioned is that although they're taking away your monetization, you're still allowed to post those videos. You're still allowed to post those videos. It's not like, for example, things like gang rape. You obviously can't post that on there, or fucking titty porn and shit like that. You can't put any of that shit on YouTube, obviously, because this isn't a porn site, but you're still allowed to put these things on YouTube. You just can't get AdSense from it. Now, the problem is like many YouTubers brought up, is yes, that is still a form of censorship, because many YouTubers, like for example, a lot of famous YouTubers are going to post 1 to 2. I think Monday Matt posts like something like 3 videos a day. That's quite a bit of fucking videos. And if that takes up, your 40 hours a week, probably more, because a lot of times people, just absolutely adore what they do for a living, and just go full balls out trying to make these videos. people are definitely going to be fucking de-incentivized, and some people, some YouTubers are gonna have to look at the cold hard reality, and look, either I can put work into this video and get nothing out of it, or it can be silent. If you cut off supply lines and blockade a major population, is that considered a mass killing if they starve to death? Is it only a mass killing if you're directly responsible by dropping cluster bombs or bombing the shit out of them or dropping a nuke? Is that the only way you're responsible for that mass killing? And I mean, the logic at play here is so fucking retarded. Like, you have CNN, MSNBC, you have all these established news sites reporting on things like fucking rapes and deaths and controversial political opinions, and they're putting fucking feminists and SJWs, they're reporting on fucking, Gaddafi and Iraq war and shit like that, and they're running ads no problem. They have no problem with their advertisers. And so to say that advertisers are uncomfortable running ads on alternative media news organizations running on YouTube, I don't see it. I don't see it. That's retarded. I think that was Chris Ray Gunn that mentioned that first that I heard. So, just completely agreeable. That makes no fucking sense. Now, what I propose, because I'm not just going to bitch, I'm going to propose a solution. A solution might be is just classify news organizations. Okay, so we got the alt-right here, we got mainstream conservatism type things, we got some libertarians, and then we got some Marxisms, commies, and then we have some more liberal media organizations. So you have those like 5 or whatever categories, or however many categories you want for fucking news organizations, labeled in news and politics, in terms of their political bias, and then you just say, here's a form, Tide laundry detergent, fill it out and let us know which news media organizations you would like to opt out of for advertising on. It's that fucking simple. Like, you have this choice as an advertiser in traditional media. Oh, would you like a Super Bowl spot, or would you like the fucking Premier League for soccer, or would you prefer the standard regular season football game, or do you prefer tennis? Which slot would you like your advertisements running on, Tide? Like, you literally have that choice on one fucking network. Why the fuck can't you have that on YouTube? It's absolutely mind-bogglingly stupid. And you could even do this for news stories. You could just have, like, a drop-down list. Okay, so we're this type of news or media organization. This is our political bias. We're covering this story on, I don't know, Russia starting World War III. And now that it's labeled, advertisers can select, if whether they want to associate with this media organization or this story, this type of story. Like, it's that fucking simple. It's that fucking simple to give advertisers that fucking choice. Like, and that can be automated. That can be fucking automated. It's scalable. Like, I'm not just proposing some sort of pipe dream where YouTube needs to have 100 million billion moderators. This is a reasonable solution. Reasonable solution. Okay? Right? Seriously, I don't see how this would be a fucking problem. This would be good for advertisers and YouTubers, because there would be less bullshit like these fucking shitty-ass bots that they're just bringing in too, like, irrelevant crap little data. It's garbage. And the biggest thing about this is that apparently fucking YouTube, even though I'm going to test this out, or actually right fucking now, turn off my ad blocker and let's see this on my fucking videos. Okay, so looking back and testing on my Fort McMurray fire disaster, whatever story thing, what was it? CBC copyright claimed that, which is fucking retarded that CBC can copyright ID claim on a fucking Canadian because they're public broadcasting. 2/3 of their funding come from taxpayers. There's no fucking way that they can even stay afloat without taxpayers. So it's just retarded. But anyways, so I actually looked at it. It says it labels it as not eligible for monetization. Icon there. But when I play the video, it does run ads, obviously, because it's going to CBC, I guess, right? Because it overruled my but the fact that I never monetized this video. It overruled that, and so it started playing ads. yet it still says labeled as not eligible for monetization with a little slash over the $sign grayed out. So I've never received one where it was just a yellow $sign, so I don't know what the fuck that one means or what it actually entails. But this one for sure, even though it says not eligible for monetization, it is monetizing. However, it's only monetizing the ads that I selected. So it's not monetizing, for example, running the 5-second ads, skippable ads before the video, and it's not running, ads at the end of the video. It's only running that little blurb that I put on because I only have that labeled because I don't want to fucking annoy the shit out of people, right? And obviously I'm too small for even running ads in general, so I'm just leaving that alone. I mean, your view is worth fractions upon fractions of cents. Like, what is it? My best video is like, what? 1,000 views, for fuck's sakes. My total channel views of 3,000. Yeah, I'm gonna need to be above 1 million in order to get more than, a couple fucking nickels, for Christ's sake. But anyways, continuing on, it did say that it was not eligible for monetization, yet it's monetizing for some fucking reason. This isn't necessarily because it's a hate crime or any of this regular, demonetized bullshit, right? Because, well, I don't have monetization enabled anyways, so I'm not probably a good test. I'd have to enable monetization and then wait for the bot to pick it up or something like that, and I'm not going to bother with that. But apparently, even if your video gets labeled as non-advertiser friendly, YouTube will still run ads on it. They just won't pay you for those ads. They'll keep all the money. So I call complete fucking bullshit on this nonsense that YouTube is just thinking of the advertiser, and this is all for the advertiser. This is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. Either they're that fucking retarded, or they know what the fuck they're doing. Now, like many people suggest that this is only censorship on certain, political points and political views. There's no proof of that. There's no proof of that. Like, in the past and on other platforms, very clearly that has been the case. But, things like fucking makeup, guys, or non-controversial vlogger, virtual loggers have been, dinged and hit. Now, another thing to mention is that this probably could be, like, even if that is the case, and let's assume that YouTube is trying to censor, it could just be particularly a bot that's bad at fucking censoring. Like, obviously. These bots are fucking terrible. Let's be honest. These bots are fucking terrible. So the bot could just be bad at its job at trying to censor. That's possible, but I fucking doubt it. There's no proof to suggest that. So in the absence of proof, let's not burn YouTube at the stake for that one. That's for sure. Not to mention, words like Acme. How the fuck is that anti-SJW? If keywords like Acme that end up in makeup channels are fucking part of the criteria for non-advertiser friendly. Like, come on, just use your fucking brain here. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is the fact that this is not necessarily tags, because Mundane Matt was saying that how YouTube actually searches and does priority and stuff like that for in terms of the YouTube searches. It used to be all those fucking tags that you tag in, but apparently those fucking tags mean dick all. That's what Mundane Matt was saying when he talked to a representative of YouTube, because he has 100,000 subscribers. You get special access when you kind of get in that middle range and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, those tags don't mean shit. They don't mean dick. It's all about the title, and it's all about your description box and what you put in the description box, right? So that's an interesting thing, because that could be where the flagging is coming from, is from the description box and not necessarily your tags. Now, and of course your title. But how do I know? Like, maybe Mundane Matt is just off the pot, or the guy he talked to YouTube is fucking retarded. I don't know. But he said that he has not been putting tags since then, and he's still been getting consistent views. And I can tell by the fucking views that are publicly posted, obviously. The views are shared. It's not slowing down on his videos, his vlog videos, so I I don't know. I don't really see his analytics. I could probably go through it, but I don't fucking feel like it. He seems trustworthy enough because he's kind of been through the thick and thin of this shit, and nobody's going to confuse them of fucking being a Sarkeesian, so yeah, let's continue with that. Now, the last thing I want to mention is people are like, well, if you don't like YouTube, go leave because it's a private company. Yes, I respect YouTube's right as a private company to kind of do whatever it wants. Like, I get that. I get that argument. Free market, blah, 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 just go ahead. But there are certain regulations that are helpful. And this is something that I have been debating, and I think I mentioned, kind of going back and forth on in my, ever since especially that free speech video where I mentioned, well, that's an iffy subject, is whether private corporations on the internet, like Facebook or YouTube, have to, have certain regulations for free speech because they're such important platforms. Now, I want to say, I think a fair, because, like, for example, there's obvious regulations that are completely fucking necessary. Like, for example, I want to mention a comment that I had with a little discussion on one of the topics when I think it was a live stream. They were talking about libertarianism, and I was explaining why libertarianism is a great fucking idea, but in reality, when you plug in this variable called power, it's impossible, because if you had the whole, the free market ideal, you have, like, for example, even if you had one guy owning all the means of labor and all the production and whatnot, and, is making bank off of a rich upper class and then oppressing a poor underclass, right? You essentially have to look at this and be like, okay, but all they have to do is go and start doing their labor somewhere else, right? Like, think of the Hunger Games, right? If all they had to do is just like, well, we're not going to work in the factory anymore. We're going to start weaving baskets at our house, and now our basket weaving business is growing. We got some capital going. We're going to invest in some machines and get that going. And, like, you can undercut evil President Snow, or who the fuck is running you. I'm only using the Hunger Games example because it's got some imagery attached to it, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. The problem is when you input power, and because President Snow can obviously put his resources that his laborers mine towards things like guns and making guns, he can obviously fucking kill any competition he wants. He can enforce regulation on competition. So that's why regulation is obviously bad, and at the same time, a true free market is just, it's not possible, because of anybody can just pick up a gun and control the means of power. The means of power needs to be controlled by the people, essentially. That's the biggest thing. That's the big takeaway here. Having the means of power in the hands of the collective kind of thing, right? At least the democracy type model, and then having your economy and every policy kind of thing based towards a free market type idea, right? Now, there are certain things, like, for example, regulations that are just fucking necessary. Like, you can't get around these regulations. That, like, you'd be a fucking moron if you didn't want these regulations. For example, companies need to be transparent. They need to tell you how much fucking money they're making. They need to be telling you where they're investing their money. They need to tell you what is in a box of fucking crackers. If there's cyanide in a box of crackers and I don't fucking know about that, I can't go on the ingredients list and read, there is cyanide in this box of crackers. I just buy it assuming that it's fucking food, and then I kill myself. Like, that's just fucking retarded if you're against 100% every single regulation. Now, I understand if we just nuked all regulation, small business would come up on top, and big business would definitely fall. But you do have to take in consideration. I don't want to nuke all regulation. I'm just saying if we were to, hypothetical, it's the same fucking saying as the Sam Harris. If warranted, if you had to, take the choice. Would you nuke the terrorists who had a nuke? You know, I mean, as a preemptive strike. Would you do that? Would you nuke jihadists? It's not a reasonable scenario. A reasonable scenario. It's an entirely fabricated scenario. It's not realistic. It's a would you rather game rather than what should we do type game. You know. So now let's look at, for example, where regulation is not necessarily, like, for example, obviously you need to know what's in a box of crackers. You need transparency laws. That's fucking necessary regulation. Now another regulation that is not necessarily necessary, but it makes perfect fucking sense, and it's more of a convenience type regulation, is it's for example, FDA. So the reason why we just go on the shelf and you know, it's we don't sift through all the ingredients is because we go into the grocery store and we assume, oh, well, all these food products are fucking safe. There's no fucking possible way somebody's gonna try and commit a mass murder because they're fucking crazy, and they decide to grow a company just so that they can fucking poison a whole bunch of fucking people. Like, there's some sadistic people that plan out shit for like 20 years. So don't fucking, you know, lie to me, I guess. I don't know. But there's and sometimes just plain old oversight, right? Companies can make fucking mistakes. So that's the reason why we have, for example, an FDA that makes sure that you can assume that all products on the fucking shelf are at least safe enough to eat, that they're not going to fucking kill you. And that way you don't have to sift through fucking piles and like lines and lines and lines of fucking ingredients lists when you're going through the supermarket. Like, the amount of time wasted on that is just, it's not worth it. It makes no fucking sense. Just pay the fractions of cents in taxes extra and what is it, and up cost to the product in order to just have a very simple functional regulatory committee that approves of mass products on all over across the country. Obviously, regulating fucking lemonade at a lemonade stand when you're looking at the little 9-year-old fucking girl that made the fucking lemonade her fucking self is retarded. But when we're talking about, you know, mass wide distribution where they're printing a fucking box with a label on it anyways, just put some FDA regulations on it, for fuck's sakes. It's a convenience thing. It's a convenience thing that we're not fucking wasting our time. So that's kind of what I wanted to get at there, is that those are regulations that make sense. And so what I wanted to kind of get at is that because certain platforms, like the trend we have and we see with social media platforms is once one becomes, you know, the go-to platform, all other platforms are miles behind. It's a complete monopoly, like, for in terms of economically, because once you scale it up, nobody can fucking compete once you have the winning service, right? For example, MySpace fucked up and they just kind of went down the tank, and Facebook just replaced them. They didn't go into like some people, 30% of people use MySpace, now 30% of people use Facebook, and now there's another 40% of people that use some other fucking app. No, it's your Facebook, you know, that social media marketplace was won by Facebook and taken over. It has nothing. There is no competition in these circles. It's not like, for example, if I go into the fucking supermarket and there's like 10 different boxes of fucking crackers, or even choice in supermarkets where I can look and I'm like, oh, there's a supermarket here, there's a Superstore, there's a Walmart, there's a fucking, well, there used to be a fucking Zellers, you know, there's a Sobeys, there's a Safeway, there's a Co-op, there's all these fucking choices in fucking supermarkets that I can go to just for the retailer alone, not to mention all the different fucking products and those grocery stores. So this idea that they don't have monopolies, you'd be a fucking idiot to argue that social media platforms do not have clear monopolies once they reach a certain size and once they have perfected their product. I mean, there's still issues with fucking products. I find, like, for example, I fucking absolutely hate on YouTube how they don't have like a "Are you sure you don't want to discard this comment" type message box. I don't get that. I don't fucking get that. I don't know why they have that. Like, it's like as soon as you click something off, it's like, and you're about to write a comment, you write out this nice badass comment, and then you fucking accidentally hit cancel instead of post, and it's gone forever. It pisses me off. That's one thing that fucking pisses me off. YouTube is far from perfect, but it is the go-to platform. And so trying to migrate to a new platform, which is constructive, don't get me wrong, but it's silly to think that that's really going to push. At the end of the day, I can be tweeting, I can be Facebooking, and I can be YouTubing, but I can't be watching a YouTube video and a Daily Motion video at the same time. I can't be fucking doing that. Like, obviously, I can write out a fucking tweet and watch a YouTube video at the same time. Might kind of stupid, but they're also serve different functions in the area of social media. This is getting pretty fucking long, but at the end of the day, all I'm going to say is I do think that, for example, once a social media site shows a clear monopoly, like starts to go over, for example, hits potentially maybe in that, I don't know what, for example, a monopoly would be, but out of users out of that particular service, if they start to go somewhere above like 60 to 70%, they should probably have institutional laws enforced on them for things like free speech. Now, so for example, they wouldn't be able to censor certain ideas if it didn't approve of their government constitutions. If it violated their constitutions on hate speech laws, I guess fine. But this idea that you can get in trouble because YouTube just has the right to censor whoever they want. At the very fucking least, if they're gonna censor people, like if they're gonna put out a privacy policy, and write it up, and fucking say, don't do these things, and then only fucking hit, or enforce claims on their bots on only certain political viewpoints, that's fucking bullshit. You have lost the transparency. There's no longer transparency. It's like, hey, I'm following these laws, or I'm not following these I'm following these policies, or I'm not following these policies. It's not, I'm following these policies and I have a dissenting opinion, so I'm allowed. I'm not following these policies, so, and I have a very popular opinion, so I'm allowed. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's terrible. That's shit logic. Just go fuck that. Fuck that completely. That's anti-transparent. That's an important thing to mention. Now, on the second part was, yes, for because of social media and their importance on our lives, things like, for example, infrastructure, like having laws that would enforce things like constitutional freedoms on social media platforms that receive a clear market majority in whatever section they're in, circle they are in, whether it's video sharing, or it's fucking writing out text in 140 characters and connecting them with hashtags and @ or they need to have, they not necessarily need to, but I think they should have some sort of regulatory enforcement on free speech ideals, or based on at least constitutional freedoms in whatever country they are at. That's number one. That's got to be given. I think that's a regulation that I would approve of, because this idea that you can make the fucking next YouTube and it's just gonna appear over fucking night if and replace YouTube if YouTube decides to go full draconian is retarded. It's going to take like 10 fucking years to replace, for anything to replace YouTube or some other fucking draconian social media site that goes fucking retarded. It's not going to happen, and that's the problem, is that time in transition where, yes, it can happen. It is going to transition eventually. In that timing of transition, people are not going to be able to say their opinions on certain topics that are very important to, for example, things like voting and things like people's expression and for example, businesses' livelihood on whether they can promote in a certain social media platform or not. Like, it's like as if, like, for example, if you're Tide or some small mom and pop shop, and you make YouTube videos saying, "Oh, we're located here, blah blah blah," and YouTube, the 80%, whatever 80% above 80% market share platform says, "Nope, you cannot. No videos from you. Goodbye. You're out. Goodbye. Your advertisement's gone." Well, what the fuck do they do? Like, let's be honest. If their business model has been running on that platform for 5 years, and suddenly they say, "Nope," that business goes under. Like especially business models that are heavily influenced like that. For example, just career YouTubers that have T-shirt sale shops, and that's how they subsidize their income, because AdSense is fucking shit. Like, this idea that YouTube would just be able to like fucking kill it is retarded. And I know, like Tildeer said, this cannot stress this enough. This is not a move to say no AdSense. This is technically a move to say, hey, you know, you're not allowed to post videos on these topics and receive AdSense on this. It's you're still allowed to post videos on these topics and receive and all fine and dandy. It can't be taken down. It just can be demonetized. And I understand, like, if fucking YouTube's being a dick about that and still collecting ad revenues, like, go fuck yourself. That's bullshit. I mentioned that before. But you technically still have your right to free speech. You don't have to get, like, for example, if you go out into the public arena and start, saying whatever you want, nobody's gonna fucking necessarily has to fucking pay you for it. But if people do pay you for what you gotta say, like, for example, in a book or in a fucking public speaking arrangement, then good for you. But nobody has to pay you for that. And I understand that. I understand that line of the argument. But it's very important to certain business models that they get these certain things, and when they get fucked over, especially in non-transparent policies, certain companies will have the leverage up because of their political positions. And that's fucked. And I know freedom to service and have whatever customer they want for a business is something I hold very highly. When you start looking at things like monopolies and low competitive environments, that's very hindering in some cases. Monopolies in general are just hindering. But this idea that, social media platforms are just a rare breed. They're not the same as a fucking a store, mom and pop store, or a bakery or something like that. Like, you can open up a fucking bakery and start undercutting and shit like that. But when you scale things like big data and tech companies and social media platforms, it's very, like, there's no such thing really as you have to lose faith in the platform in order to move to the other platform. That's really what it comes down to, is the platform works, fine, okay? And this idea that people will eventually slowly swap, but in the meantime, you can destroy, like, literally, like, 30,000 fucking small businesses based on political opinions. Like, that power is fucked. And how do you can either have, I think I really only see two choices. You can either subsidize small social media organizations so that they can compete, Because, let's face it, a small social media organization cannot compete with the big boys. It's just not possible. Or you can enforce freedoms on things like, for example, comment threads or video logs or things like that. It's just there's that aspect of it, and there's also the cultural aspect of it. It's the monopoly aspect of this very new rare breed of type of business that is social media, and the cultural aspect of it that, let's face it, this is how we communicate with fucking people. Like, for example, if your cellular provider said, okay, you can't say certain words to people, you can't say Trump 2016 to your friends or your family or whoever the fuck you want on your phone. That's not possible. We're filtering that out. Goodbye. It's gone. That's retarded. No. That's literally them telling what you can and cannot say. And that's the same thing with social media sites. They're telling you what you can and cannot say. And more importantly, that's what they are there for. They are there for communicating with other humans. And when they tell you how to communicate, for one, that's a retarded business model, and two, because speech is a fundamental human right, it's a First Amendment right. That's a right. They cannot infringe on that speech. That's the idea here. Is it's things like, for example, because it's a communication thing. Let's say, for example, we made the sale of oil a human right. Let's say, for example, we made that a human right. That's a human right. The transfer of oil, the transaction of oil is a human right. Anybody can buy oil and gas products. And then suddenly a gas station says, all right, only certain types of people can buy this certain type of gas. Conservatives, no. You can't buy this gas, or liberals, no, you can't come to this gas station. You can't buy this gas. In our current system, that's fine because the sale of oil is not a human right. But because in this world the sale of oil is a right, you can't do that. That's a no. And so now that we're talking about social media organizations which handle communications, they handle speech, they handle your right, your speech to another person or multiple thousands of people or whatever in whatever format, they have to abide by freedom of speech. They have to abide by that because of the type of business they are. They handle communications. They cannot infringe on rights of what you can communicate. That's the idea I'm trying to get on here. Is that's why social media platforms, there's an argument for why they need to be regulated because of this idea of free speech. You can't be told, no, you cannot express that opinion. And this idea that a communications-oriented company that handles speech can say, no, you can't say that on our platform or get kicked off. I'm not. This is my best case for that. Oh, so are you saying people can't block people on social media then? Because then they're infringing on free speech rights. That is now another caveat, because if we look at, for example, even everything from blocking numbers, like if a customer goes in, they want to block a number, they want to block communications with a certain number, or if YouTube, a thread owner wants to block certain communications from certain users, there's a difference between that and things like, for example, YouTube itself saying no, or for example, with the Melissa Click thing at Mizzou, where she was on public property and she was trying to own what type of opinions could be on public property. She didn't own the property, and therefore she was infringing on free speech rights because she's not allowed to tell people what they can or cannot say on public property. If that was her own property, she paid for it, she had it, she could kick off whoever she wants. She could get this reporter out of here, right? If that was her fucking house. Get this reporter out of my property. And that's the same thing with business owners. They can kick people out. They're not necessarily telling you, oh, you can't say that, or if you continue to espouse your views, I can kick you off my property. That's the takeaway here. And so that's why I want to mention with the threads, because that is like your property. That's your ownership of your real estate on this service, right? You make a thread or a video, and your video thread, you can control comments, you can control who says and says what, and that's not necessarily a violation of free speech. You can say, okay, you're allowed in my on my property. You get out, right? You can technically say that. And if somebody's being a dick like Steve Shives, people can just like fuck off and make a new thread, and how much about how they hate Steve Shives and how much he's a dick, right? Like, for example, and that's the same thing with phone communication. Okay, I want to refuse. I don't want to see communications from this person. And if it's like something like, for example, if they're friends or it's a reasonable communication, most people are gonna be like, "What the fuck? That was bullshit." Like, and then they're gonna communicate with their other friends on their cell phone, being like, "That's bull. That's bull." And as long as they're consenting communicators, it's not a big deal. But if the communication is not consensual, essentially, between two parties, and I'm not talking about the social media site party or the cellular communication provider party. If it's between the two parties that are the civilians and not the corporate entities, then it's up to them, and it's subjective whether or not they kind of want to, if one person wants to terminate communications with somebody else because they own their number. Like that number is ownership of them, and who they share that property with, essentially. I'm using property, it's not the correct term, but you kind of understand. Like, I'm trying to put this in terms of relating it to something physical, a physical object, right? That somebody can own, right? And so that number is basically their property because they purchased it. Well, they have ownership of it. They didn't necessarily purchase it, but they purchased the product and they got ownership of that cell phone number. They have ownership of that property. They can decide who they can and cannot communicate with, and they get numbers that they don't want to communicate with. They can say goodbye, get off my property. Same with comment thread owners. Now, if there was, for example, things like if YouTube started its own public forum, for example, the entirety of YouTube, and said, right, we're going to silence certain opinions, or if, for example, hackers decided to silence certain opinions by use of force, even though they don't own the comment threads, and tried to hack into the comment threads and put a whole bunch of shit over somebody's Facebook, or delete whatever they wanted on somebody's Facebook, that's an infringement of free speech. So you kind of see where I'm getting at here. This is technically a free speech type thing. You can argue that because the gas station owner owns his business, he's not obliged to he owns that property. He's not obliged to have physical people just on his gas station. Black Lives Matter on his gas station. He can say, "Get the fuck out of my gas station. You don't. It's my property. Go away. I don't have to serve you because it's my property rights." Essentially, it's not necessarily your free speech rights I'm trying to infringe on. It's my property rights I'm trying to enforce. And essentially, if they don't want them communicating certain opinions on their property, they can get the fuck off, and they can get lost, and they can step off their property and start saying whatever the fuck they want off his property. That's the takeaway here. It's your comment thread owner, it's your property type thing, right? So now that we kind of have that covered, and so why not all social media sites? Why only like ones that have clear monopolies in certain markets? Now, this is because we can look at certain social media sites that are not intended to be monopolies. For example, YouTube is intended to be a monopoly on all videos, right? When you look at things like, for example, a dating site like Christian Mingle, that's not intended to be a monopoly of all all dating sites, right? Of all dating partners. Or Grindr, that's not intended to be a monopoly on all dating preferences. It's intended to be a monopoly on Christians that are trying to look for a date. So that's why you can have certain things like, well, it's dating communication site, but it's more importantly, like the important caveat that you would be removing here is it's a Christian dating site, their communication dating site. Therefore, if you're not a Christian trying to go on there, pick up a date, they have the right to kind of remove you. But if you're a Christian who has liberal values and they want to kick you off, no. You kind of see what I'm getting at here? So if you're designed to be a niche product, or you're designed to be like your social media space is designed to be on a certain particular group, like for example, if it's the Conservative Gazette or whatever, and it's just an open forum for all conservatives, and the conservative forum owner decides to say, fuck these people that hold conservative values but are black. No. If you want to say fuck these liberals on my conservative media site because this is a conservative, this is not intended to be all the political spectrums of the rainbow. Okay, I can see that, because that's the idea. Is if you're trying to, it's really about intent. So that's why the legislation, I think, would need to be more centered around that. So essentially, if you're YouTube, you're not necessarily like you're not Christian Mingle, you're not Christian video upload site, you're not conservative or liberal liberal tube, you're not liberal tube, you're not Christian tube, you're YouTube. You're supposed to be everybody makes whatever content they want. Therefore, you have to hold up the free speech ideals of your communication platform because you're a communication platform. That's all I'm going to say. I'm well fucking over. This is hitting fucking 50 minutes. Oh my god. Last takeaway here, last remark is, this is so fucking ranty and fucking terrible, but hopefully you like it. I don't know. Last remark here is, as a consumer, and in any business, you do have the right to say, well, hold on. I want to be on your property, and I'm not on your property right now, but I want to be on your property. You have your right to show disdain. If you don't like the way they fucking serve fucking hot dogs, you can write a complaint. You can be like, this hot dog tastes like feet, fix it. You have that right to complain, and they have that right to ignore you. They don't have to fucking listen to you. Like, YouTube does not have to listen to Sarkeesian. She doesn't have to listen to anti-SJWs either. Like, that's the thing. But YouTube has to, as far as I'm concerned, has to hold up the right for Sarkeesian to say whatever the fuck she wants, and for Amazing Atheist to say whatever the fuck he wants. Right? That's fair ground. They don't have to listen. Like, some Muslims spouting off some bullshit about how, like, I was having that fight before. If he's spouting out some sort of bullshit about, hey, convert to Islam, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I don't have to convert to Islam. But I don't have to tell you, go fuck yourself. You can't say that here. I don't have to say that. Like, that I can't, I have no control over that. So, that's the takeaway here. You have the right to say whatever you want to business. Criticism of business is that's freedom of speech issue. I mean, you're allowed to criticize YouTube, even on their own fucking platform. As far as I've previously articulated, I think. Anyways, you get the gist. Hopefully you liked this video. Thanks for listening, watching, whatever the fuck I put into this for gameplay or whatever. Thank you so much. Have a good day.